So, gender, yeah, it kind of makes me upset. I really don't like it, and I really don't feel like how it's implied to anyone is really that helpful. So, a few disclaimers to start off with. These are my thoughts about it. If you love your gender, your pronouns, and are a girl that loves makeup and shoes and Barbies, or a male that likes football, comparing muscle sizes and, I don't know, man spreading or something, you do you, so long as you don't impose your ideals on me. I won't impose mine on you either. Gender versus sex and how people who say they are the same are usually the ones that say so many gender related things that aren't related to people's bodies in any way. So, yes, let's start with the body part bit, which is incredibly weird, I feel, especially with babies. So, yes, I do know to do the procreate stuff and produce life. The process usually involves two body parts, interacting. But like, what does that have to do with me having to like blue, which I do, but hey, I'm a fairy, whatever. Or whether I'm allowed to cry or wear makeup or whatever. I kind of just don't see the link between those two. I never really have. And it just kind of confuses me that people use body parts as an excuse for like, you can't wear makeup. Also, that's not even taken into account intersex people, which, according to an Amnesty International article in 2018 and just many others, search it up, intersex people are estimated to make up around 1.7% of the population. And that's an estimate because some people don't actually know they're intersex. It can be hard to know. And if you don't think that's a lot, that's 147.6 million people, which is within the ballpark of the number of gingerhead people out there. And according to the CIA data from 2024, if all those people went and started their own country somewhere, the gay island thing, but for intersex people, I guess, they'd be the ninth highest populated country in the world, ahead of Russia. So yeah, I don't feel bad in saying that that's a lot of people. And the thing is, since intersex people are so ignored, a lot of stuff kind of goes under the radar that people don't really know about. For example, the forcing of people into one of the two boxes literally leads to unconsensual mutilation of intersex babies to fix, in air quotes, their junk. And I mean, this is bad in of itself, obviously. I mean, unconsensual and babies. But even putting that to the side, if this doesn't match with the gender that the intersex people feel that they more align with, then this may actually lead to them wanting to do even more surgery in the future to more align themselves with how their gender actually feels in terms of their body. That's very hard to word. But the concept itself isn't hard. Just, don't quote unquote fix intersex people and don't do unnecessary surgery to babies. I don't know. I don't feel like that's should be a controversial thing to say. And it's just really annoying to me, this thing with surgeries on intersex babies, because it's just never really talked about in the discussions anywhere. I'm all for, necessary surgeries, but these are just totally unnecessary, and it's just to fit this gender binary, and it really bothers me. It really does. Anyway, putting that stuff to the side, what's the deal with clothes? This whole clothes thing where some things are just very, very masculine coded and some things are just very, very, to be honest, it's more the feminine coded stuff because women wear a lot of what would have been seen as masculine clothing anyway. If you go into a shop, there's literally, for most of the shops anyway, there's one side that's going to be for male, one side that's going to be for female, and another side that's going to be for the third gender kids at the back somewhere. All clothes are made by humans. All clothes, aren't a force of nature. So it's always kind of been a bit weird to me that people kind of came up with this concept. And by the way, this is different in a whole lot of different countries too. At some point, people kind of just decided that if there's shorts, but but the middle part of the legs are like cut and joined together, that's just for girls. Whereas if they're not cut and they loop around the legs, that's for men. And I guess women, but also in the past it wasn't for women because they just were supposed to wear dresses. It's just never really, I don't know, made sense to me, this whole thing of like dresses and skirts and stuff like that are just very, very much coded for women. Other than, I don't know, like misogyny and, women supposed to cover in be covered. Oh my god, I can't speak today. And the fact that in the past women were supposed to just cover their bodies, and I don't know, with men it didn't really matter for some reason because women don't feel attraction. But then literally in other cultures, like I don't know, even in Scotland, like men wear kilts and those are kind of like dresses, well, skirts, I guess. In, you know, the Middle East, they've got the dis stuff. They've got the distachis, which I mean are not skirts, but I guess closer to dresses, and they like, are these white long thingies. So why is it that some particular things are like so widely accepted? I mean, to be for men, I mean that particular white one is very, very male coded. Whereas I don't know, the same thing in black is women coded. And then over here is just like anything where there isn't, the middle bit that kind of goes up and wraps around your legs is female coded. And then there's stuff like hats. There's, the whole pink thing, which I think is kind of going away now, thank goodness, because I mean, do you know that like pink used to be more of a boys thing because it was like close to red and people thought power and red and, manly man and stuff, and pink was kind of close to that. Yeah, that was kind of weird. I mean, weird that it totally shifted 180 degrees and just was always a women's thing, apparently. I don't know. I mean, I can ramble on about this for like years. Well, maybe not years, but it's just weird to me that something that's human made is just seen as this force of nature of being like, this stuff, is obviously for women. This stuff is obviously for men. And is kind of just that way because that's what it feels like, because that's what we've always been told. Changes always happen throughout the centuries and stuff. That is the normal thing to do. But when that happens, people see that as weird and they're like, oh, this way that we grew up with is the way that it's just always been, which it obviously hasn't. I mean, wearing clothes isn't natural. Like, clothes wasn't something that just dropped down from the sky when the first human came. I don't know. Like, it's weird. And by the way, the whole pink and blue thing just is, God, it's so annoying. Like, literally, I don't know if it's like this in other countries or whatever, but there's this shop here called Card Factory where you can buy cards from. And you literally go in there and it's like a divide of pink and blue. And I make it an objective pretty much every time I go in there to like buy a card for anyone. I could go to another card shop, but this card shop has cheaper cards, so like, and it's close to me, so I go there. But I make it like my mission to get the most gender neutral looking card for like anyone that I get from in there, or I'll go the other direction. I'll get like a more pinkish card for a boy and bluish for a girl, sort of thing. I got a green one for my grandma because her favorite color is green, and it literally said it's a boy card or whatever on it. It's very annoying. I hate this blue and pink thing so much. So part I don't know, what is this, like part 3 at this point? Gender pronouns, I guess. So they're such a really weird concept. In some countries they have them, in some countries they don't, which by the way is a pretty recent thing I found, like literally just either this year or last year, I don't know. But yeah, in the UK and I don't know, English speaking countries, there's very much this thing of like he or she is like the pronouns or whatever, and there's they, but it's kind of weird because it's a it can also be used as like a plural. I don't know why I'm explaining this to you, like you know. But yeah, again, it's seen as this force of nature because English language is this kind of weird mishmash of different languages and stuff until it comes to gender pronouns, when again, force of nature. But in other languages, it actually kind of isn't like that. I'm sure there's some languages where it's worse, where a plant is female or whatever, and the chair is male, that stuff. I'm happy we don't go that far with English. But there's some languages where gender pronouns don't actually really exist. So I don't know these languages personally, but from what I've heard from people from, well, someone from Finland, as well as Hungarian people and stuff like that, those countries don't really have gender pronouns at all. So when they come to English, they kind of get confused by it all. Finland didn't like fall into like, some sort of anarchy or whatever because of gender pronouns. It's kind of doing pretty well, I think. So yeah, it's just kind of weird that there's this whole kind of thing about gender pronouns when there's literal countries that just, well, literal languages that just don't really have it as a concept, and they're just kind of over there being all confused about it. While I'm gonna call out my German friends here. Germany just doesn't have any word for gender neutral people. Just, I don't know, just call me a person. That's it. And moving from one weird concept to another, I don't know, part four, whatever. I hate titles so much, and I keep having to fill them in, and it's very annoying. I feel like it's kind of like the I want to say like the straight person's pronoun thing, uh, their pronoun obsession, but like I don't know, I don't know where this is going. But yeah, having to put in Mr., Mrs., Ms. I don't know, Lord, I don't know, Sailor, whatever. I kind of don't. I know there's MX, and that's a thing out there. I don't like MX. I don't like any titles. I don't want to have any titles. I'm not, in the freaking House of Lords or something. Like I'm just me. I don't want to have any formal like fanciness or whatever. I don't like formality in general. Just call me by my name. Don't say Mister. Don't say Mrs. Don't say Mix. Don't say Ms. If I don't know if they're not married or they don't want to say if they're married or whatever. I just really don't like that. Sites or signing up to things make it a requirement that you have to put this like arbitrary like thing before your name. People always refer to you by that if you do put it, or not always, but like they often do, like in emails, like I don't know, dear Mr. last name or whatever, or Mr. first name even, or whatever. I mean, these people that complain about gender all the time, they literally like to, add a bunch of words and letters and stuff where they don't need it, he or she instead of just saying they like adding letters on to stuff. Since they don't mind saying so many letters, maybe just say my first name and my last name instead of just saying my last name and then being lazy with the first name and having to put Mr. at the beginning. I mean, it's not even a laziness thing when it comes to young people. Like, you at least you have to write master. Like, a lot of names are shorter than that. Just say my first name. It's not that hard. And I don't know, part final of my rant, I guess, is just because something is hard to understand doesn't mean that it's wrong. So there's this kind of weird thing that people seem to think where just because something seems weird to them means that it must be incorrect. If you know pretty much anything about, psychology, you know that. I mean, I feel like it's got to be kind of obvious, right? What is weird to you, what isn't weird to you, is just what you grew up with. Somebody that grew up with people being slaves is not going to see slavery as being a weird thing because that's just what they grew up with. These people seem inferior to them, so it's not going to seem weird. If people grew up eating snails, then that's not going to seem weird to them. But, me not growing up eating snails, when I go over to France or whatever and I see people eating snails, I'm going to think it's kind of weird. People in Finland, if I go back to my previous example, or Hungary, who don't use gender pronouns, when they come over to here, gender pronouns are going to seem weird. So yeah, just because something seems weird, just because it is hard to understand, doesn't mean that it's wrong. I feel like there's not really too much to add to that. I feel like it's a very obvious point. Some people just seem to miss it. But yeah, just because you grew up with something, just because because you haven't seen something in the past, doesn't mean that it's wrong. As I said before, if you were totally happy being a boy, discussing stuff with the lads, I don't know, the stuff you guys do, you keep doing you. If you want to live in dresses as a girl and you want to, I don't know, have a pink room all over the place. I can't speak today, god damn. Then you do you. That's not the issue. It's just imposing stuff on other people. That's the issue. But anyway, I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you all later, I guess, for some other topic. Bye bye. Um, pretty sunset over here. I like this sunset.